It's time to continue ranking every single studio series, and this is part 3. We're doing number 21 through 30. So there's some good ones, and there's some really bad ones in this batch. And I definitely have some opinions on them, so let's get this started right away. We're starting off with kind of some repaint central here. And the first one is Starscream. Of course, I have the original mold of Starscream. In fact, right off the bat, I put Starscream at the top of the list because I love this mold for Starscream. Now, a lot of people, for seeming both of the studio Starscreams are the exact same mold. The only difference is the second one is just a repaint. A lot of people prefer the Cybertronian tattoos that this version, the one that we're ranking today, has the Cybertronian tattoos all over him. This is where it really comes down to personal preference, because like I said, it's the exact same mold. However, I actually do still prefer the original over the new one, the Revenge of the Fallen one here. It's really such personal preference. Like I said, it is the same mold, but I do like the kind of cleaner, less cluttered look of the original paint version. I mean, really, that comes down to movie preference, because I think this one nailed it. So he's still going to go plenty high, but I think he's just going to go, for now, at the end of A tier. That's still really high, you guys. It's just, I do prefer that original Starscream more. So, the next one which I can rant about is we got Dropkick. The first take of Studio Series Dropkick. And this is, I can go on such a rant about this guy. This figure is okay. But let me tell you this is not Dropkick. You cannot convince me that's Dropkick. He has the face of Dropkick, and I guess Dropkick happened to turn into a helicopter and all that, but this isn't Dropkick. Throughout my videos of talking about random figures and all that, one thing that I have said a couple times, and it really rings true for the Bumblebee movie. Yeah, especially like since they're redoing the Bumblebee movie, Volkswagen Bumblebee this year. It's one of those things where the Bumblebee movie never had an official mainline. You know, like Rise of the Beast, they had the mainline version and then they had the Studio Series version. You know, they kind of had that first crappy take of the figures, if you will. However, like I said, Bumblebee didn't have that mainline figure. This was the first Dropkick. It's a Dropkick. It definitely feels like a mainline Dropkick. It is not a Studio Series Dropkick. He kind of got the cheated on. He just didn't have the time. It was the first take of him, and it just shouldn't have been the Studio Series. It should have been mainline. They later release a car version, which will be ranked a lot higher than this guy. In terms of a random figure, I'm fine with this. I'm fine with this helicopter. He's a good figure. I really can't complain. It's just, it's not the Bumblebee movie Dropkick we saw. It's just simply not. They tried. And I do like it. It's not a bad mold. It's just not Dropkick. So, I'm going to put him here. And with kind of that logic, I'm going to take that original Bumblebee movie Bumblebee. And he's got to get dropped down. It just wasn't that great. He's going to go behind Dropkick. It's time to continue on with the crappy repaint. So imagine Stinger but blue with a slightly different face. That's KSI Sentry. And it's an army builder from Age of Extinction. That's all it can really be. You know, the bald dude in China had making a whole pile of Transformers, and why not just make a crap ton of repaints for them? You know, that's kind of what happened to Shadow Raider. Shadow Raider in Lockdown. It was just a slight retool, getting more Age of Extinction figures out there. I'm so mad because the stupid clear plastic broke for Stinger when I was transforming him back into robot mode here. So now his little arm thing just holds on by a stupid pin. Like it's the plastic clip. It's just not there anymore. Need to get some glue for that, I guess. Darn it! But KSI Sentry is this but blue. I was fine with this mold for Stinger. It was the best Stinger that we've gotten so far, put it that way. So I guess I don't really know what to say. since KSI Sentry, it's one of those weird ones. Since it is just a lousy repaint, it obviously has to go behind Stinger. I think there's definitely other studio series they could have prioritized. For seeming we are only just now this year getting a Q. Like this guy could have been a Q. I'm gonna put him in C tier. I could be talked into raising that or lowering it a little bit. I really don't know. It's just a repaint of Stinger, but yet it is a different character. I don't know. That's kind of one of those ones I have trouble with. Next up is 24 and 25. It was a 2-pack, and this Studio Series 2-pack included a Studio Series that wasn't even a Studio Series. The Bumblebee movie Bumblebee was in here, which is just the same one that we ranked before. And instead of making a new Studio Series Bumblebee for the Last Night Bumblebee, they just packaged the Last Night Bumblebee. It was supposed to be a Then and Now 2-pack, which is a neat idea, but it wasn't executed well for this one. They didn't try. Since it is still figures that aren't just stupid sticker sheets or exclusive, I guess I'm going to put it just slightly below Thundercracker. But I don't have much good to say about that. I just don't. I'm sorry. It was a 2-pack. It was a cool concept with the before and after. Should it have taken up an entire couple Studio Series slots for figures when... Look at how many Bumblebees this list has, and the next 2 are Bumblebees too. It just wasn't needed at this point in time. Sorry, Bumblebee, but you're going in D tier. But just when you think Bumblebees can't get any worse, they give us the World War II version from the Last Night. That was a few seconds in the Last Night, and they make an absolute crappy, backpack-heavy, inaccurate figure. It's obviously going in D tier. I don't know if it's better or worse than Thundercracker. I just know it sucks. They're close. They've got to be close. I'm putting it worse because it has a worse backpack. I still love that Nitro mold, which is why Thundercracker's still kind of the king of D tier. But Bumblebee does take the cake for that lower tier. Now, imagine... You see right here, we ranked an original Bumblebee, then we ranked the sticker sheet of that Bumblebee, and then we ranked an exclusive golden sheet of that Bumblebee, so why not put a little rust color on it and repackage it? I'm putting it above the one with a literal sticker sheet, but it's just a crappy repaint. They've reused that mold like 4 times now, and it's all just Bumblebee. That sucks. He's going down at the bottom. The bees are taking a loss today. Look at that. Look at that fine row of crappy Bumblebees at the bottom of the tier list. Ouch. We need some redeeming Bumblebees here in the future. But that brings us on to the original Barricade. I never had this original Barricade, so I can't say much about it. I have the Last Night mainline Barricade, but I don't think that really counts for this. I think it looks nice. It looks amazing. Sometimes when I look at it, I wonder how well it actually holds up. Just the way some of the limbs are. Sometimes you can just tell by looking at them. Sometimes I wonder, but I don't have that personal first-person in-hand experience with it, so I can't say too much. But it does look nice. I'm gonna put it above, below. I don't know. I'm struggling here. I'm really struggling. It's one of those I don't really know. So I'm gonna drop it like it's hot right there in the middle of B tier. Now the next one is the Flintstones car, because you can walk your car, because you can go right through the floor of the car as you're sitting in the car. No, it's a bad joke. This is the first take on Sideswipe. This is the one that's the convertible. So I do love this. However, I do know in the future they came out with the next version that wasn't a convertible. And that future version also had what many consider to be a better robot mode paint job. However, I always saw it as that future version also had a bigger backpack. Because it wasn't a convertible. You know, there's a lot less to have on the backpack here. So I don't know if the new version, in my opinion, is better than this original convertible version. One thing I never did quite like about this guy and Sentinel Prime is they are parts formers. The bottom half of the car is literally just the sword. You lose the sword, you lost half your car. And I'm not a fan of parts forming. I'm really not. So no matter what, that's going to knock down Sideswipe a little bit. But I do prefer this version more than the future version, and it is a good Sideswipe. So, with that, Sideswipe is actually probably going to go just under Crowbar. I think I enjoy Crowbar a little bit more than Sideswipe here. But it's close. Some of these are so close. It's like, at some point, it's potato. I hope that's fair. But speaking of Crowbar, since we just talked about Crowbar, well, not speaking of Crowbar, sorry, speaking of Crankcase. So, on screen right now is a CGI render of what Crankcase looked like in Dark of the Moon. Now, I'm going to show you two figures. Right here we have Crankcase, and right here we have the Last Knight Berserker. We got two dreads that they could use. Now tell me, which one looks more like the CGI render you see on screen? If you said Berserker, you're absolutely wrong, because clearly Crowbar is the repaint that they should use to make this Crankcase mold, right? Oh, Hasbro. Hasbro. Cheap, sneaky little Hasbro. You really screwed that one. You really screwed that one. I love the Crankcase mold. They did some quality things, I think, over the original Berserker mold. But I think the Crankcase mold, or I think the Crowbar mold, works better for Crowbar than it does for Crankcase. They should have retooled, or even honestly just repainted Berserker. They obviously stole the Last Knight Berserker pretty much exactly for a studio series already. So why don't they just steal the Last Knight Berserker again for basically an exact Last Knight Berserker? Why did they repaint Crowbar and call it Crankcase when they already had a usable mold that they've shown that they can use in the studio series line? That frustrates me. It really does. He's not a bad figure, and in fact, he's probably better than Dropkick. But he's so inaccurate. You know, I ranked Crowbar an entire tier higher than what I did Crankcase. Because even though they're the exact same mold, just different colors, he's so inaccurate. That is not Crankcase. That's Crowbar. That's the Crowbar mold. It's like Hasbro got cheap and lazy with that one. Since they are redoing the original Bumblebee this year, the original Bumblebee movie Bumblebee, you know, I think Stinger deserves a redo. I think Crankcase deserves a redo. I think Helicopter Dropkick reserves a redo. Some of these, especially some of these in the 10 we just ranked today, they deserve a second chance because they were kind of done dirty here. But with that, that was 21 through 30 of the studio series. We got a lot more to go, so I'm actually pretty much going to turn around and I think start setting up the next ranking one. So see you guys, hopefully relatively soon. Adios.